Hey guys, what is up? It is Bibzuda7 here again, and welcome to another RuneScape 3 video here today. This is going to be my discussion of the RuneFest reveals, like I promised I would do for the RuneFest weekend. And yeah, I'm just going to go over what they revealed, what they talked about, and just my thoughts on the event as a whole, as well as maybe some of the other things, like not necessarily only the RuneScape reveals, but I do have some notes that I took on the stream bits that I did watch. For the most part, I watched the whole stream. I didn't catch the whole beginning bit, but I watched the quests and lore section, and then I watched the 5-year old school bit, and then I watched the RuneScape winter reveals and the old school reveals as well. So not going to be really showing too much on the screen, honestly. Just going to be probably doing some AFK, something like fire making, but either way, if you did watch the stream, then you can leave your thoughts in the comments. Either way, though, I'm going to jump into it, starting with the quests and lore, as that was the first bit. I don't have a lot to talk about for this because I'm not super into the lore itself, but the stuff they talked about was a little interesting. So there is a new quest that is going to be coming out really soon, and they mentioned this during the reveals as well, which is kind of lame that they doubled up on reveals. Like, they'd already, several of the things in the reveals they'd already talked about in this quests and lore section, which is kind of, I don't know, lame that they used them for two different things. But either way, this quest is called the Needle Skips, which is a weird, kind of a weird name, but this is going to be the 400th QP quest, which is pretty exciting, and that they did say that that would result in a new Slayer block slot, and you would of course get a new magical dice. And I think there's like some pet that you get as well for this 400th quest point. So that's pretty cool. And the needle, which is a big part of the quest, is a new elder artifact, I think similar to the Stone of Jazz, that lets you roll back time slightly, I guess. And they showed this like interface, and you're basically going to be able to type in like keywords to unlock chapters of the story, and each chapter will give you other hints to further keywords so you can learn what else went on and eventually complete the quest. So it sounds pretty cool, and I guess I'll just talk about what they said in the reveals for this as well, just so I don't have to revisit it later. It's located on the Piscatoris Peninsula. The trailer that they showed actually looked and sounded like really good, to be honest. So I'm kind of looking forward to this quest. The little trailer clip that they showed had some pretty cool sounds, and the visuals were nice. And it is fully voice acted, which is pretty cool, I guess. I'll probably turn my sound on for doing it on the first day. And it's going to be like a crime scene investigation type quest, kind of like One Piercing Note or Murder Mystery. So that's pretty much all they said about that. I think that is coming out this year. Both of the quests that they announced are coming out this year at some point, but I think this one's coming out first, and it's probably going to be either this month or next month. And then we have another new quest that they talked about in the lore section for Christmas, and it's kind of like the Christmas event, but it's just going to be a permanent quest instead. And it's kind of like a sequel to Myths of the Whitelands, which is a quest that came out like 10 years ago or something. It's called Violet is Blue, and there's going to be sliding ice puzzles and stuff like that, similar to Myths of the Whitelands. And then it'll involve some of the Yeti race, I guess, is what they said. You're going to kind of be helping a girl who was adopted by some Yeti parents be introduced to like their Yeti tribe or something like that. It sounds pretty cute. But looking forward to that coming out, and that is going to be apparently the last game update of the year. They mentioned that in the reveals section as well, so that'll put us slightly over 400 quest points, which is pretty cool. And then they also talked about Elite Dungeon 3 as part of the lore section, which is interesting. Obviously, the Elite Dungeons do have a lot of lore surrounding them. That's what makes them different from regular boss fights. So that's why they probably mentioned this here. And I don't know if they had revealed the name beforehand, but they said here that it's going to be called the Shadow Reef, which sounds pretty cool. And apparently it's going to be like underwater. And it's a place that was created by the Dragonkin. They had some other name for it, but I don't know what it was. It was some weird like elf name. But it is going to involve the Ambassador, this guy we've known about for a while now. They had some pretty cool concept art and pictures of him that they showed, so you might want to check those out if you're interested. And he was apparently a dragonkin in the past, but was like corrupted by some force or something like that. But the ambassador does look pretty cool. It's almost definitely going to be the final boss of that dungeon, so I'm looking forward to that. In the reveals section, they said that it's coming early 2019, and since this is the winter reveals, they said it was from now until February is what the updates were coming out, so I assume this is going to come out in February, most likely. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. The second Elite Dungeon brought some really, really great improvements over the first one, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do for this final installment in the trilogy. Should be pretty sweet. And then for the last bit of the quest and lore section, they talked about the major storyline is going to be continuing in 2019 beyond Sliske's endgame, and it's going to focus on the Elder Gods and the Dragonkin, with a focus on Jas, the creator of the Stone of Jas, and Karapak, the Dragonkin. And this quest is going to be similar in requirements and stuff to like the World Wakes. Any member can do the new quest, but the rewards are going to have like quest and skill requirements behind them, which I think is good, because a quest like Sliske's Endgame that requires almost every other quest in the game can kind of like lock out people who may otherwise be interested in the lore itself. So I think it's good that they're redoing the way they did the World Wakes, and looking forward to that quest, although it's not confirmed at all on the release date. It's just next year at some point. So yeah, we will have to wait and see on that. But that is the quest and lore section. It was pretty interesting. I mean, I'm not super into the lore, so a lot of it I just kind of tuned out, but what they talked about for the upcoming quest in the Elite Dungeon sounded pretty good. And now I'm going to move on to the winter reveals section, which honestly, as far as I'm concerned, the reveals overall were quite disappointing, because it was mostly stuff we already knew about. And I know they're trying to avoid making promises that they can't necessarily keep, like has been the case in the past, but still, I feel like they should have had at least one pretty sweet new thing that we'd never heard of before that was going to be coming out in the winter time. But the main problem I had is they pretty much like blatantly ignored a couple things that they kind of promised to talk about in the past. But yeah, well, I'll bring that up later. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the Tainted Shard that we all got in our inventories is not related to Elite Dungeon 3. It's actually, I think it was for the needle skips. Let me just make sure. I thought I wrote it down somewhere. Let me just do a quick search in my notes. Yeah, the Tainted oh wait, no, it's not. Sorry, it's not from the quest. I was wrong. This is why I didn't realize it, but the first thing they revealed was this new event called Till Death Do Us Part, and that's a month-long event. I think it's starting this upcoming week, although I'm not 100% sure on that. But it looks like, based on the trailer, they used a lot of the assets from Dimension of the Damned, if you guys remember that. I think that was last year, which was like an epic fail event thing on separate worlds. So this sounds like a little bit more of what it should have been, maybe, that horrible event. And it's going to involve the 4 Riders of the Apocalypse, which are, I think, Death, War, Pestilence, and Famine. And you're going to be needing to use multiple different skills to help kill some stuff or disable some obelisks or something. It was kind of a vague explanation, but yeah, that is what the Tainted Shard is from. Moya, I think she's the emissary of Sliske, gets trapped, and you're trying to save or protect her or something like that. And yeah, it does launch next week at some point, I think maybe on Monday. And the rewards include cosmetic overrides, transformation animations, and some XP. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really super enjoy the limited time events outside of the world events, but we'll have to see. It sounded interesting-ish, but the trailer looked really kind of crazy. So we'll have to wait and see on that. I'll make a video on it when it comes out. Then they re-brought up the needle skips again. I already went over that in the previous section. Then they brought up ED3 once again. So something that, again, they had already talked about at Quest and Lore, and something we definitely already knew was coming soon. But yeah, it's going to be deep in the ocean. It'll feature the Ambassador, early 2019. Lots of new rewards, and is a quote that I wrote down. They said they will be as impactful as the other dungeon rewards, which is interesting because we know that tier 92 melee armor is not coming from this dungeon because it is part of the mining and smithing rework. So we'll have to see what they add in to fill that gap. But it's still going to be 1 to 3 players, mini bosses, new achievements, lore stuff like that. So nothing too else exciting that they revealed during the reveals part. Then Mod Timbo came up on stage and he talked about the alchemical onyxes, which are essentially the new jewelry that they're going to be introducing for the alchemical onyx to result in a fortunate components permanent sync, as these items will have to be recharged with fortunate components to make it so that clue scroll items keep their value. And I am very happy to have seen this announcement because I was looking at items recently. This is an aside. This doesn't have to do with RuneFest necessarily, although it kind of does. I was looking at items recently, seeing something I could try and invest in because I had some spare cash on hand. And I realized that onyxes were at like pretty much nearly a lifetime low. Well, not quite nearly a lifetime low, but like pretty much the lowest point they'd been as far as I could tell since Hydrix jewelry had come out. And so I decided to buy 1,000 of them. And I managed to get 952, as you can see here. And I bought these for 1.63 mil each. And currently they are selling, the buy price is at 1.95 mil. So I've already made about 350 mil off of these onyxes, so I'm pretty happy with that. Although I think I'm going to hold on to them until the alchemical onyx update maybe actually comes out, because I think they might rise a little bit more up until then. So that's pretty sweet. They did say very soon, so I assume probably next month, maybe this month, I'm not sure. But there was 3 new items that they confirmed that were coming, and they told us their effects, which I was pretty happy with. The first is the Ingenuity of Humans, which is a new sigil. It's the Lucky Strike sigil that everyone's been hearing about in the past, and it sounds like it's going to be pretty powerful. I'm looking forward to seeing what people end up doing with it. But it pretty much will let your next hit be 100% hit chance every time. So you'll be able to vuln while you're meleeing, stat hammer spec while you're ranging, you know, stuff, anything like that. So it is pretty powerful, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what people do with it. And that is the sigil slot, and it will be recharged with fortunate components. So that means it's actually going to be pretty damn expensive to use, because each time you use it, it'll basically like using a clue scroll item. So damn, now that I think about it, that is going to be expensive to use. We'll have to see what the prices of those items settle at after all this stuff comes out. But anyways, the next item, one sec. The next item is called Grace of the Elves, and I believe this was a necklace, and you can charge it with signs. It's a skilling item. You can charge it with Signs of the Porter for up to 500 charges, and when you wear it, it'll act like a Sign of the Porter for you for those charges, which is pretty sweet. You can use the necklace to teleport to your attuned Max Garden skilling location, so that is pretty huge, to be honest. That'll be really nice and convenient for you to get around with, because I think mine are attuned to Incandescent Wisp and Invention Guild, so I would be able to have a teleport to both of those places on a necklace, which is very, very useful. So I'm looking forward to that. This thing actually has a ton of features to it. So there's the porter, there's the teleports to the max guild locations, and then also while you're wearing it, the drain rate on your Saren prayers will be halved. So I believe that just that would also include dark form, I think, light and dark form. So light form and superheat form are the 2 that come out mostly, prominently for that, because those are the obviously those are the ones that you use for skilling. So that's going to be pretty nice to save you some prayer. And also a pretty big addition as well to this. So this has 4 pretty sweet features on it. While you're skilling, while wearing this, you'll have access to the rare drop table. So at any random time, you could get a drop from the rare drop table. And if you're wearing Luck of the Dwarves, you could possibly get a Hazelmere Signet Ring while you're skilling. So that's pretty crazy, and it's definitely going to be fun to have that chance of getting stuff in addition to just doing your regular skilling. I really like that item, although it doesn't really say if it'll. I don't think that one will need to be charged with the fortunate components, as far as I can tell, because there's nothing. Or maybe for using the teleports, you'd need to charge it. Although if I had to pay a fortunate component to use those teleports, I probably wouldn't do that. I would just tell you the max guild and go out the door. But we'll have to see. They didn't mention that specifically. But then the third item is the Passage of the Abyss. And this sounds like a really cool item. It goes in your pocket slot if you want to wear it, and it is basically what they called the ultimate teleporter. And you can use any compacted jewelry on it, and it will store where that jewelry will teleport you, and you can put up to 6 items on it. So that is a lot. And you can see here, let me see, clue scrolls. So I have compacted skills necklace, traveler's necklace, dig site pendant, and games necklace. That's only 4. Dueling ring is about 5. I only have 5 even on my clue preset. I could probably add a glory onto there, and that would be 6, and that would make a full teleporter, although you could probably find some other jewelry to put on it as well. And if you do, you can recolor it and have multiple of them. So that is pretty insane. You can have more than one of these things and use it to pretty much store almost all your teleports on it for when you're doing clues and stuff. And it uses charges via fortunate components as well. So I assume one fortunate component will give you more than one teleport charge, because if not, it's probably not going to be worth it to use. So I would say maybe 10, 15, or 10 to 15, maybe 20 teleport charges per fortunate component would be reasonable, but we'll have to see. They didn't mention that. But that item sounds really, really nice for just getting around and stuff. So all 3 of them honestly sound pretty sweet. I'm really looking forward to that update. They didn't mention specifically when it's coming out, besides from soon TM, so we'll have to see if that is in the behind the scenes at any point, because we are awaiting the October behind the scenes still, which I will be making a video on. So that is a very nice update. Looking forward to that a lot. Although we did know that that was coming eventually, it's good to hear that it's confirmed to be happening. The second thing that Timbo talked about was the Achievement Bonanza, which is apparently coming in November. And that's going to result in 100+ new achievements aimed at both skillers and other players. And they gave 4 of those achievements that are coming as like a teaser for them. And they are these ones. There's one called Dragonstone, 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 which to get that you have to kill a Dragonstone dragon while wearing Dragonstone armor and jewelry and using Dragonstone bolts with an inventory full of Dragonstone. So it's a little ridiculous. And it's probably going to be a bit annoying to do, but it is definitely a funny one. Then there's one for I think it was called Totally Livid. I didn't catch the full name, but basically you have to throw a rotten tomato at Pauline in New Varrock after unlocking all the Livid farm spells. So kind of get your revenge for the misery you had to go through to do that. Then this one sounded really cool. It's called Smartest Harvest, and you have to harvest 60 items from fruit trees in under 4 minutes. That sounds kind of hard to me. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I haven't even looked into it. I don't even know how many items you get from fruit trees usually, but that sounds pretty intense, and it'll probably be like a test of how many teleports and how good of knowledge you have unlocked for that. That's pretty cool. And then there's another bit of a silly one here called I Meant to Do That, which is surge a distance of 1 tile. So kind of like a laugh at you if you mess it up and haven't done that achievement before. But that sounds pretty cool. I mean, there wasn't really too much information on it aside from that. But we'll have to see what other achievements they come out with. It does sound like it's going to be kind of a lot of them. I hope they have some for PVM challenges as well, although they did do a big batch of those all at once during the first initial rework. But if there's more skilling ones that are similar to that Smartest Harvest one, I think it'll be pretty sweet, because that one sounds really cool. He also mentioned, kind of like as an aside near the end, they are finally removing mobilizing armies and redistributing the rewards and removing the trim comp requirement. Thank God for that. The minigame was incredibly broken and people only did it just to get that comp requirement, so I'm glad to see they're removing it. I don't even know what rewards it has that would be worth getting if they were redistributed, but we'll have to see. The ninja team is working on that, so glad to hear about that. That just sounds terrible. And then the last person who came up was Mod Jack, and he talked about mining and smithing. Big shocker. I'm pretty sure I said during the during one of my videos, I think it was my Monday video, I said I knew what was coming in RuneFest. It was going to be ED3, mining and smithing, and mobile, and that's pretty much the 3 main things they talked about, which was why so many people were disappointed that there were no big reveals. But they did confirm there's going to be an open beta in November, and they said the full release is going to be in January. Now, I don't believe that, but we'll have to wait and see. Either way, I'm not really looking forward to this whole rework. I feel like they're going to break something with it, like inevitably, and I don't know. I I don't really have a problem with mining and smithing as it is. If you ask me, construction is much more in need of a rework than mining and smithing, but they are apparently nearly done with it, so we'll have to see what it's like when it does eventually come out. I really don't like the Elder Rune armor at all. It looks disgusting for tier 90 armor. They really shouldn't have changed the ones that they had. The concepts they had before were way better. But then there's obviously with that the tier 92 melee power armor, which I think is called Masterwork. That's going to be interesting to see how that is made specifically, although I think they might have already mentioned it. But yeah, I wasn't too excited for that bit because we've already been hearing about that for years now. They said that rocks won't deplete anymore, which seems weird to me. There's going to be a new item called an ore box to carry 100 of each type of ore, so you have to bank less. And there's going to be a new thing called a metal bank, which is going to be at, I think he said, any furnace or anvil, and can store up to 2 bil of any ore or bar. So does that mean you're basically not going to have to bank at all when you're smithing at any point? Actually, I think they even mentioned you can smith straight from your bank without even having to take the items out. I'm not sure about that 100%. I'll have to go back and watch the clips, but that does sound a bit crazy. We'll have to see. I'm looking forward to trying the beta out at least in November. And then they've said they're redoing a bit with Artisans Workshop to make it the main smithing hub. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, nothing we didn't already know for the most part. And then once again, they revisited the Violet is Blue quest. I already talked about that, the last update of the year, the Christmas quest. But that sounds kind of cool. And they also mentioned the winter weekends are going to be returning, as usual. We'll have to see what they have for this one, though. I think they said there's going to be a couple different ones in there this time. And that was it for the actual reveals section. They mentioned a couple things in the after discussion, which I'll go over now. So the main thing that everyone glaringly noticed was missing was nothing about loyalty points, which they had said they were going to be announcing at RuneFest in an earlier live stream, so another broken promise on their part. But they did bring up the bank rework and said that the main thing they're trying to get done will be placeholders as soon as possible, and that is going to be after mobile. Oh yeah, they did mention mobile is actually releasing in open beta on Monday. So if you want it, you can download it, although it's limited entry. So if you do want it, make sure you get it early. I'm not sure how limited it is, but yeah, it is coming in open beta on Monday. I don't know if they mentioned a full release date, but shouldn't be too long after the beta, I'm sure. So yeah, we already knew mobile was coming, so nothing really exciting there, to be honest. But yeah, bank rework placeholders are ASAP after mobile, I guess. So we'll see when those actually come out, probably in 2020 at some point. As far as loyalty points go, they did mention it because people were raging in the Twitch chat, I think, and they said they have a plan and it's in motion and they're going to be trying to get our feedback on it soon. So that's kind of annoying that they didn't mention what they said they were going to mention. And then they essentially ignored Group Iron Man entirely, despite the chat asking for it. And they even said, we'll address Group Iron Man after the next segment, and then they never talked about it. But it was revealed on Reddit that it has been shelved for this foreseeable future, so they have pretty much not been working on it, and they are not going to be working on it in the foreseeable future, which really sucks, especially for people. Like, some people bought Premier membership in 2017 because of Group Iron Man for a new account, and then they never came out with it. So those people essentially wasted like $100 because of Jagex's like basically lies for the most part, which is really ridiculous. And it's really just disappointing because tons of people really were looking forward to it, myself included. But hopefully they revisit it in the future. I'm not sure when it's going to be, but that's basically why they didn't mention it, because it's been shelved and they didn't want to. So yeah, overall kind of disappointing reveals, but I am really looking forward to the alchemical onyx items, and these new quests sound pretty cool. ED3 I'm sure will be great when it comes out next year. This event next week, I don't know, sounds a bit shifty, but definitely underwhelming compared to years past, but that's also because they didn't want to say anything that's not for sure coming out. So it's kind of like a give and take with that. But they did say that they're going to be revealing more stuff closer to its release date, as opposed to doing like a full year of stuff at RuneFest and then having that change over time. So I think that's good. I just hope that some better stuff is coming down the line in the near future, but we'll have to see on that. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments on the RuneScape 3 reveals. I did just want to touch a little bit on what they had for old school, because it's kind of funny, because it's basically like a carbon copy of RuneScape 3's stuff. Like, it basically sounded like they're coming out with invention and divination as one skill, or they're proposing it as, like, it's called warding, and it literally sounded like almost the same as invention divination. Like, you disassemble stuff and there's energy involved, and I don't know, it just seems weird. But it's basically like crafting for magic armor, which I don't know, just seems like a weird thing. And people weren't too excited about it. It seemed like I saw a lot of people on their subreddit just saying like, why? So that's one of the big problems with old school, is they have to pull everything, and they've done 2 other full skill designs in the past and they didn't pass the poll. So if this one also doesn't pass the polls, like, they waste so much work getting these designs and concepts done, and then they wasted it all by not passing the poll. So I'll have to see. I'll honestly be surprised if it does pass, but I thought that was kind of funny. And they're also doing a quest to unlock Prif for old school, which is just kind of, I don't know, it seems weird that they're just copying updates that RS3 has done, because they've said in the past, for reasoning, that we don't get some of the updates old school gets because they don't want the games to seem too much like the same, but they're doing the opposite with old school. So just thought that was kind of weird, thought I'd talk about it. But either way, that's going to be the end of this video, you guys. Not too much to talk about from RuneFest this year as opposed to last, but hope you enjoyed it either way. If you didn't watch the live stream, maybe it filled you in on some stuff. Let me know your thoughts on what's coming down the pipe in the comments down below. And yeah, I'll probably be doing another my Collection King video tomorrow, and then we'll have a video on Monday for the update. See you guys in the next one. Peace.